Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Night Grumpy Sound Guy Show. I am your host, Mr. J.R. Everhart. I am the Grumpster himself. This week, we are going to talk about DJs, everything DJs. This week's going to be all about DJs. I'm getting tons and tons and tons of band people wanting me to talk about DJs. Of course, most of their comments are pretty negative, but I have some constructive criticism for DJs. And I have a pretty unique point of view, being someone who has been in bands and toured with bands and played clubs in bands on stage and been the production guy and done some DJing in my life. So I can see it from every angle. So if that is something that interests you, and it probably does, you should probably hang around. You do not want to miss a second of today's show. Hey guys, if I could just have a moment of your time to talk to you about this channel. 49.8% of you guys watching this right now is not subscribed to this channel. Will you please hit that subscription button? It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the channel on the public side here. And then that gives us tools and resources and for my marketing team to be able to do what we need to do to get this content out to people who really enjoy this sort of thing. The other thing is, if you're super digging this and you'd like a deeper look into my world, then subscribe to the paid side of the YouTube channel. You can join for about the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you know, and then I do vlogs over there. I post content that never goes public, and I let you into my world. I let you into the CLP audio world, and I let you see what our day-to-day life looks like. Love you guys. Thank you for the support. Hello and welcome back. Man, I got to tell you, I'm feeling mighty lazy about right now. We've been out here all day working. This has been our first, I think it was 74, 75 degrees today. Our first really warm day of the year today, and we just kind of went bonkers. You know, trying to get stuff done around the shop, did a bunch of stuff down at the house. I had a whole system set up down at the house where we were rehearsing indoors over the wintertime, you know, with J3, which is no longer together. I am saddened to say that that band has kind of fell apart. But Todd and I are working on putting something else together as we speak. So there will be more van jammage in 25, probably later in the fall, if I had to guess. So, yeah, so that's what's up with that. So it's been a very long day. It's in the evening on Tuesday. I always record this stuff usually Monday or Tuesdays. That way I have it out of the way and uploaded and ready to go when the Wednesday show comes on. And to those of you who give me a hard time about blabbing about that kind of stuff, man, take a chill pill, dude. I mean, come on, man, relax. You know, a lot of my followers want to know what's going on in my world. I will advise them that if they really want a deeper look, as I just mentioned in the previous plug, make sure you join the paid side of the YouTube channel, because I just got done recording a 40-minute video there for insiders, really just telling them everything that's going on in my world right now and what's going on in the CLP audio and staging world. So yeah, for the price of a cup of coffee a month, you can be part of the cool kids and sit at the cool table in the cafeteria. So DJs, let's get to the point before some of y'all blow me up in the freaking comments, okay? Let's get to the point. Listen, man, when DJs first hit the scene, I'm old enough to remember, back in the 70s. I mean, I was born in the early 70s, but by the early 80s, I can remember standing in circles of musicians. I started playing when I was 8. So, you know what? I started playing in 1980, something like that. I started playing drums, so I can remember standing in circles of older musicians and them complaining and talking about how DJs are stealing stealing the work. I just had a conversation with a buddy of mine who predominantly does corporate stuff. He does like a lot of weddings and a lot of company, get-togethers and conventions and that sort of thing. And he was just telling me like 3 weeks ago that he's losing a lot of work to DJs. From a musician standpoint, it's like the drummer in me understands all that, gets all that, and I get ticked off about it as much as anybody, because it's hard for me to wrap my head around someone paying a DJ the same amount of money that they would pay a band when you just got one guy standing there with a laptop. I mean, now on the DJ side of that is, okay, but that DJ can literally play any music that the crowd wants to hear. There's no limitations to what he can play within the parameters of what the client has asked him to operate within, Obviously, if it's a corporate event with kids and stuff, you can't do a bunch of gangster rap and foul language and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, a DJ can take requests and he can play just about anything that the audience wants to hear. There's some value in that, but it tends to be pretty boring. Now, I know some club DJs, for you DJs, start like jumping down my throat. Hang with me, okay? Hang with me. Don't stop the video now and think you know what I'm going to say, because you don't. I can't tell you how many comments I get on these videos, and I can tell that you guys did not watch the whole video because you're stating things that I've already covered in the video. I'm not that predictable, okay? I know some club DJs who bring props to the table, all kinds. I got some very close friends of mine who does a DJ program for children. And they're bringing all kinds of costumes and things and giving candy to the kids and all that kind of stuff. There can be a much better entertainment level to the DJ thing. It blows my mind. My oldest daughter is a nut job for these DJ festivals, where it's basically a guy, his laptop, and a really good light rig. Everybody's on Molly and they're waiting for that sub drop to rattle everybody's guts, and that's what they get off on. And they go camp out in the woods and do that stuff for 3 or 4 days at a time, all summer long. Now my daughter, I don't believe is, doing drugs. Don't let me put that out there, because I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that she has told me stories. Let me put it that way. And I know that is something that exists in that environment. But I digress. The biggest complaints that I have personally about DJs in nightclubs alongside of live bands is, number one, be a professional and ask the band for their set list so that you're not playing the same music that they're going to play, first and foremost. Second of all, dude, it's not a volume war. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the band is 100 dB when they're on stage, you need to be 100 dB between sets. Because what I see happening more often than not is the DJ's 120 dB, and then when the band comes back for their second and third set, it's anticlimactic. The DJ is screaming at the crowd, introducing the band to come back on, and the band's 100 dB, dude. And it's because, the DJ doesn't have, 12 mics on stage to contend with. He has one vocal mic with an on-off switch. So he can be as loud as he wants to be. The band doesn't have that ability. A live band can never compete with a DJ when it comes to volume, because playback music is never going to feed back, okay? But when you have live music in the room and everything is mic'd up, even some of these guys that are going direct, you can still only go so far because the vocal mics. The room's only going to handle so much volume before the vocal mics are going to start feeding back in the front of house. Especially in some of these clubs that have a catwalk that goes out in front of house. You get 100, 105 dB, brother, you're doing something. That's where you need to be cruising. 95 to 105 is where I like to be most of the time. But then when these DJs come on and they're 120, literally 120 dB, it's like, come on, dude. You're freaking killing the band. I think it's very, very disrespectful to the band. So that's what I have to say about that. I have seen some bands, now these were not even B-level bands, I've seen some C-level bands, come in to do a club, and they're, say, a rock and roll band, or they're an old school R&B band, and the DJ, comes on and plays something radically different than what they're playing that night, and the band get mad, pack up, and leave. I have seen that more than once, where it's like, man, we're doing rock and roll tonight. You think maybe you could, DJ, some rock and roll that we're not playing, but in that same vein, so we can kind of have a night of fluid, genre, specific music. I don't think you're going out on a limb to do that, man. I think that's very common to do. Now, some clubs are dance clubs that are hiring rock bands because the rock bands are popular. So in those scenarios, the crowd is used to dance music between the sets, and the rock band knows that, and no one has a problem with it. What I'm talking about is some of these other rooms who are rock and roll rooms, and it's their rock and roll crowd. For some of them people, especially some of these older cats, dude, hip hop music and dance music like that will drive them out of the club. They get mad, the audience gets mad and will leave and not stay around to see the rest of the band because they get tired of hearing that kind of music. They don't like that kind of music. So the DJ's got to really be sensitive to that. And you can really solve that by just having a legit conversation with your DJ. Hey, dude, what do you think I should do tonight, for break music? What do you usually do for break music, I know when I'm mixing bands, my break music is specific to whatever is compatible with the band. Now if the band comes to me and says, hey man, why don't you play some line dancing songs and, some dance music because we got some women here really wanting some of that and, we're cool with it. Okay, no problem. I'll switch the set list over. I'm not actively DJing. I have pre-designed playlists in an iPad mini that does nothing but handle playback music. And then I leave it play all night long on that set list, that playlist, and then I just turn it up and down during the breaks. So if someone wants something specific or someone wants to change, the style of music we're doing, I will physically get up and go try, pick another playlist, play a couple requests. I try not to get into a bunch of request stuff because, again, I'm not getting paid to be a DJ. I'm doing the band a courtesy by playing some break music. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. And then, back to the original point of the conflict between live bands and DJs, man, we just got to learn to live together, man. Like it's Sly and the Family Stone, baby. We got to learn to live together. It might have been, who was the other guy that did that? Oh, I can't believe I can't remember that. Buddy Miles. Buddy Miles did that. Yeah, we got to live together. He did a really good version of that. I'm a big Buddy Miles fan. Anyways, that's my ADD sidebar, and you get that for free. I didn't even charge you extra for it. Anyways, look, these guys ain't going anywhere, man. And if you're a band that's complaining about this, but you only put 70 people in the room, and then the next night when the DJ's there, he puts 150 people in the room, don't bellyache and complain that they're paying the DJ the same money they're paying you. Because in today's economic climate, it's about butts and seats, dude. You've heard me preach that time and time and time again on this channel. It's about butts and seats. They will hire Bozo the Clown to go up there and make balloon animals all night if it's going to sell the place out. The bar owner doesn't care anymore, dude. They don't. They really honestly don't. They want to make money. They'll put whatever on stage that people will support. Thankfully, most of the time, that's live music. But in some cases, it's a DJ. Some of these places are just tailor-made for a DJ. They're in an environment or in a neighborhood that is dance music compatible. So it kind of flows with what's already the vibe that's in the community that the venue physically sets in. So DJ might be where it's at. I know a local club here just right down the road here across the state line that was doing live bands and was struggling. I don't think they were doing live bands long enough to establish themselves as they were a new club. And they immediately went to DJs. DJs were cheaper and DJs were putting the same amount of numbers into place, sometimes more. If the girls want to go out and dance, all night, They're either going to go find a band that knows how to put people on the dance floor, or they're going to go find a place that has a really good DJ. Most of the time, they don't care which one it is. They just want to dance. And wherever the women go, the men follow. So there's that, you know. As far as karaoke, to have that conversation, I always joke and call it scarioke, because most of the time, if karaoke starts, I'll give it a shot, you know. But there's only so much that I can take. You have to understand, I'm a musician first, okay? I don't have the ability to unplug from music when it's going on in the background. Like when my girlfriend talks to me and we're watching TV, I have to stop the TV. I can't unplug. I can only digest one thing at a time that way, audibly, because it's just the way my brain is designed. Now, when I'm locked in, and if you're hiring me as a sound guy, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Like, I don't have to look at the stage to hear the mix. I'm mixing with my ears, not my eyes. Now, I try to pay attention to the stage in case someone on stage needs something, or in case I see something that needs to be taken care of or troubleshooted, or, you know, something like that. I get all that. We shouldn't be asleep at the wheel. But if I, you know, I like to take pictures of all my gigs, and I think I do a pretty decent job taking pictures. And then I take, you know, 15 minutes during the gig, and I post them up on Instagram and on the CLP audio page, and then I share it over on my personal Grumpy Sound Guy, JR Everhart page, and I'm trying to do a little bit of business. Then I put my phone down and I watch the band. If I'm back there surfing eBay or Amazon or something during your gig, you're probably a horrible band and you're just boring me to tears, you know, or I have to do something while I'm thinking about it, you know. So it's really, after 37 years in this business, it's really hard for me to unplug from the music that's going on in the room. So when the music is done poorly, it's like nails across a chalkboard to me. I mean, it is literally torturous for me. I can't stand it. It gives me anxiety. Like when someone's singing out of key, it's one thing if I'm mixing a band and they might float a little out of key here or there or something like that. But if it's singer after singer after singer after singer who's singing out of key or can't sing along with the little bouncing ball on the TV in front of them, it literally gives me anxiety. It makes me so uncomfortable because I'm a musician. 99% of the time I know the song they're singing, you know, and it's dude, it's just torture. It's torture. Now, let me say this. Don't tune me out. See, this is what I'm talking about. There's two sides to every conversation. I try to talk about both sides. I have been asked to judge karaoke contests. I've done that many, many times. I have sat through karaoke contests that were amazing. That was, I mean, I just was absolutely blown away. Like, where did these people come from? Like, you know, we're out here trying to, you know, scab bands together and find singers and musicians and stuff like that and everything. And then these people show up out of nowhere and no one knows who they are and they sing their brains out at karaoke. I'm like, how come you're not in a band somewhere, you know, or something like that? So I have had some positive experiences with karaoke. And then there's musicians who want to complain. It's back to the DJ thing. Like, well, they're paying karaoke, you know, the same price as they're paying bands. Well, dude, I know guys doing karaoke who put legitimate numbers in clubs on a freaking Tuesday night or a Thursday night or, you know, a Monday night, you know, or something like that. Look at trivia. Trivia is huge in the Mid-Atlantic right now. You can go to a trivia thing on a Monday night and the club is packed. Every table is taken up for trivia. If you'd have told me that 20 years ago, I'd have laughed at you. No way would people get off their rear end. You can't get people off their rear end to come see a live band. You're telling me they're going to get off their rear end on a Monday or Tuesday night after working all day to go play trivia for 2 hours? Yeah, they will. And the bar owner is going to laugh all the way to the bank. That's why those guys are making the same money you're making. It's about butts and seats, especially when a bar can do something during the week that brings people in. The weekends, every bar has a certain percentage of a built-in crowd on the weekend. Some clubs are packed every weekend, no matter if it's a DJ, a live band. It could be the most popular band in the area. It could be the worst band in the area. They're still going to have a full house of people. You find that usually in the inner cities. You find that at the beach. you find that, in places with high populations of people. Because people want to get out of the house and go do something. Well, really what I always say is the 30% of people who support anything that happens in a bar is a greater number when you're in a city than what it is when you're in a rural area. I think it's still 30%, 35% of the population that's going out regularly to support a trivia night, karaoke, a DJ, a live band, any of that stuff. But when you get into a highly populated area, that 30% may look like hundreds of thousands of people, to where in a rural area that may look like hundreds of people across 30 bars in your county. I know my county right now that I live in here in West Virginia, I'll guarantee you there's probably 200 bars just in Berkeley County, something like that, 150. There's a lot of bars in our area because we have legalized gambling here in the state of West Virginia. There's a lot of bars that are just little holes in the walls with 5 machines and someone serving $2 Bud Lights and free hot dogs. We have a lot of that, but we also have a lot of bars that are that B-level sports bar. You're like, corner O'Malley's type sports bar, that you can get, 75, 125 people into. That's most of the bars in our area. And there's only a handful, even including the lodges. There's only probably, even within, I'm going to say a 20-mile radius of where I live at, out here in the west, not in the city, but up and down the I-81 corridor, there's still probably only 10 or 12 places that you could get over 300 or 400 people in. So all those numbers matter, dude. All those things is all part of the equation in the business. I had someone kind of read me the riot act in a comment the other day about how cover bands are not part of the music business. And I don't understand that mentality when cover bands and houses of worship, praise and worship bands make up easily in the 90th percentile of all bands that are playing music this weekend in our country. That covers tribute bands, that covers, traveling corporate bands, all that kind of stuff. Like, without them, there is no music scene, Without them, then there's only pro touring national events happening, and you only have, in a major city, you might have 12 or 15 of those events of like major touring national events happening in a major city. I'll even give you the B nationals in that. I'll guarantee you there's not more than 12, 15 of those shows happening on a Friday night or on a Saturday night. Now, over a weekend, if you add multiple days to that, I'm sure you could double and triple that number. But when you think about for every national band that's playing, AT&T Arena or MCI Arena or something like that, there's easily 200 cover bands playing within probably a 10 or 15 mile radius of that venue. So I don't know how anybody can make the statement that cover bands are not part of the music scene. I don't get that. I think maybe they were trying to distinguish between club bands and corporate bands, or club bands and traveling tribute bands. Because tribute bands are still cover bands. I don't care what you say, okay? In my world, they're the same. You're still playing somebody else's music. You've just decided to play one band's music all night long. Yes, you usually do it better than your average neighborhood cover band. I'll give you that. Some of these tribute shows are as good as any of the national shows I've seen. But you're still playing somebody else's music. Even if you have their permission to play their music, you didn't write the music. That's not a national band in my book. A national band plays all original music. And everybody knows that the original scene, unless you're Bruno Mars or the Foo Fighters, is a hard road to hoe, and there's way less money to be made in that scene than what there is in the cover band scene. That's why the cover band scene is so popular. And that's why the DJ scene is so popular, because DJs are also playing other people's music. And your local tavern or your bar or your nightclub is paying ASCAP and BWI or BMI, royalties to be able to play other people's music and make money off someone playing other people's music and their club. So don't get mad at the DJ, man. He's just out there trying to make it happen too. Look, they're not going anywhere. You know, I always compare it to 80s music. Like, if I got to hear Love Shack one more time, just freaking, claw me in the face with a dull spoon. You know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. You know, I get tired of hearing some of this. I like 80s music too, but some stuff has been overplayed so bad that it makes me want to vomit my mustache off. But I always say that DJs and karaoke is just like 80s music. It's never going to go away. There's always going to be a group of people who support that. It may not be the most popular gig in town. Sometimes it may be the most popular gig in town. I know a lot of 80s bands that are very, very successful. I know a lot of, decades specialty DJs that are very successful. But you're going to have to learn to live in that environment and in that ecosystem with these guys, because they have a right to be there as much as anybody else. And what some of you don't understand is that without the DJs, those venues wouldn't be able to stay open to be able to host the live bands that they do host. Because from a bar owner's perspective, most of the time, a DJ makes less than what a band makes. I think the average band nowadays is making somewhere between $700 and $1,000. Like the average B-level band that's going to play all your favorite music, they're in that range somewhere. I hear that number move drastically from region to region. I have a lot of Canadian followers. They have a completely different vibe on it up there. Florida is a completely different vibe because it's saturated with musicians. A buddy of mine said that Florida is where musicians go to die. Because I guess when everybody retires, they go to Florida and play in a beach bar band with two of their buddies, and they're all making $300 and $400 a night because you can swing a dead cat and hit 10 more other bands just like them. So most bands, at least in my area, in the Mid-Atlantic, are making, $700 to $1,200, honestly. Well, I mean, a really good DJ that's worth his salt is going to make $600 or $700, maybe $800. I don't know too many DJs that are in clubs that are really making more than $300 or $400. I know DJs right down the street here in West Virginia that are making $150, and they're packing the place every Friday and Saturday night. Bar owners making some serious money then. So you got to look at it from the bar owner's perspective. So do I pay a band $700 to come in here into my little, corner sports bar and play too loud and have to fight the volume all night, and that sort of thing? Yeah, they brought some people. Yeah, my people liked them. Maybe they even sold the place out. But, that came with a price, and that came with a volume issue that we always, have to deal with. Or I can bring a DJ in who's going to work for $150 or $200 a night, and if he's too loud, he can just turn down. And he always does. And people love him and support him as much as the live band. Most of those clubs in my area are all doing DJs and karaoke nowadays. They bring bands in for special events. Now the animal circuit's still doing live bands, but man, 50% easily, and I'm being very conservative with this number, easily 50% of those clubs are bands are playing to nobody. Because those clubs are dying off because they don't have the vision to attract the next generation of bar goers. And I think that it could be. I think they could get over that hump. But every time you get a young guy on staff at a Moose or an Elks or an Eagles club or, something like that, Owls club, and wants to do something new and got young people coming in, and got younger bands coming in, there's always this gaggle of old white-haired, blue-haired mafia people who want to shut it down because they don't want their little, lodge to change. What they don't realize is they only come to the lodge once a month when there's a $3.99 buffet and a $1.50 draft beer, and then leave 50 cents as a tip for the waitress. Them places are never going to make it. Like, I am genuinely concerned about the animal circuit. Look, you guys hear me talk about the animal circuit many times in a negative light. I really don't mean to be coming across in a negative light. Some of those clubs are some of the best playing clubs in our circuit. Honestly. I'm not saying they're the greatest clubs to play, but they're the best paying clubs. And when you get up into Pennsylvania, some of those clubs up there, for whatever reason, that's where everyone goes. And it's people our age or younger that are going to the club and supporting the bands. And they have administration and staff in place that recognize where they need to be going as a lodge to survive, and they're thriving. You go, 30 miles the other direction, south into Virginia, and it's just the opposite. And we even have that here in West Virginia at the couple moose lodges we have here. They're all struggling, barely staying open. Can't even get somebody to come in and run their kitchen for them. I'm a member of a local moose here and have had nothing but bad experiences there. And I played music in that place, both as a production guy for one of the biggest bands in the area for many, many years, and played as a drummer in one of the biggest classic rock bands in the area for many, many years. And none of them people still know who I am because they keep turning staff over so quick. I don't know who the people are that's working there now. And they got such a clique going on. I went in there for dinner one night and got treated like complete mud. Like I'm dog water or something, dude. What? How do you expect to keep a place like this open? And it's one of the biggest, nicest rooms in the area. That's the thing about these animal clubs. They have big ballrooms. You can get 500, 600, 700 people in there, man. There's no reason why we couldn't be cultivating those rooms better, even with a DJ. Some of them have figured that out. Some of them are too stubborn to get out of their own way. And the second they get somebody in there that gets a fire going and starts getting some buzz going and people are coming in and membership is starting to raise, the charter's starting to raise. I had a club in Pennsylvania, a moose club, who paid for my membership for like 6 years in a row because they couldn't keep their charter up. They paid for the membership. I didn't ask them to do this. They did it on their own. They asked me if they could pay for my membership because they needed numbers to stay open. That moose ended up closing down shortly after that. Welcome to the real world of the entertainment business. Look, venues are closing down every day. Some of these iconic clubs that have always been a hot place to go to have a good time, whether it was with a DJ or whether it was with a live band, are closing down because people are not supporting them. So before you get on your high horse and start harping about how horrible the DJ is and how it's unfair how they make more money than you or as much money as you, or how they're getting a Friday or Saturday night date that you wanted, maybe you should go visit the club when that DJ's there and see how many butts they're putting in seats. And thank that DJ for putting some people in the club you want to play because they can put more people in there than you can. In some cases, that's the reality of it. Without that DJ, there'd be no club. Without their karaoke on Thursday night, there'd be no club. Without their trivia on Tuesday night, there'd be no club. Because they can't make it all out of the kitchen and food and beverage. They got to have other things in place that bring people into the place. So that's my take on the DJ thing, man. They're not going anywhere. They're always going to be part of the entertainment business. Some of them, I provide production for a local wedding DJ firm. We go in, we set up production. They do handle the bride. They do all the DJing, the actual DJing. We just provide equipment, and it's a win-win for everybody. They get great gear. They don't have to maintain anything. They don't have to unload anything, load anything up. It works out phenomenal. And those guys are getting legit money. Legit money. Like as much money to do a wedding as what most A bands are getting, like really good A bands, corporate A bands. DJs are getting some of those same wages in that wedding circuit. You know why the brides are hiring DJs over bands? And I've asked this question many, many times. Two things. Number one, the DJ can take requests and play anything that we want to hear. Country 1 minute, hard rock the next minute, reggae the next minute, some old song from the 30s that grandma wants to hear that reminds her of when your grandfather came home from Nam. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever, you know what I mean? And then the other thing is volume. It's a wedding. It's not a rip-roaring dance club. You got 80-year-old grandparents sitting there and family that never wants to be in some big rowdy situation. So we got to be able to manage volume better in those situations. That's why they hire a DJ. It's just easier. It just is. The setup is easier. The teardown is easier. There's less people to feed. You know, with a DJ, you're going to feed one guy and maybe two crew members. With a band, you're going to feed 5 guys in the band and probably 2 crew members, maybe 3 crew members. That stuff all adds up when people are on budgets today doing weddings and stuff. Dude, DJs that do nothing but weddings are just killing. Absolutely killing. I get young sound engineers that come to me sometimes and they're like, man, what can I do to supplement my income and not have to go take a job at Lowe's or something or Walmart, you know, and be able to, you know, sort of quasi stay in the business. And I always say the same thing. Go do wedding DJ stuff. Wedding DJ stuff will pay you, you know, $1,500 to $3,000 every time you go out. And it's just you, a very small sound system, a very modest light rig, dude, and they're happy. You know, don't be some cheesy morning, you know, DJ host. Stay out of the way, play the music. You don't have to beat match like a nightclub if you don't want to. You know, I know guys that are just playing songs to the end of the song and then fading into the next song. They're not beat matching. They're not doing any of that stuff. And they're just killing, dude. They're killing. Don't be mad at them. Some of you musicians need to thank your local DJ because he might be the only thing keeping your venues open. Love you guys. I'll see you next week.